Most men don't realize when they've already lost. There's no announcement, no clear moment where everything collapses. It happens quietly, beneath the surface, in small shifts that go unnoticed until the outcome is already decided. You think everything is fine because she still replies, she still smiles, she still shows up. But something has already changed. The way she listens, the way she responds, the way she looks at you when you're not paying attention. And you miss it because you're too focused on what you feel instead of what is actually happening. That is the first mistake. You trust emotion over observation. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And when you react to a woman's subtle withdrawal with panic and chase, you are reacting from weakness. You are not observing. You are not assessing. You are not controlling yourself. You are being controlled by your fear. And that fear is what she is really responding to, not your words, not your gestures, but the energy of a man who is losing his grip. Attraction doesn't disappear suddenly. It fades when patterns repeat too often, when behavior becomes predictable, when your presence no longer creates tension. And most men, without realizing it, slowly remove every element that made them interesting in the first place. They become too available, too expressive, too eager to maintain what they already have. And in doing so, they reveal something they don't intend to show: dependence. Dependence is never attractive. It doesn't matter how well you hide it with words. It leaks through behavior, through timing, through the way you react when something feels off. You respond too fast, you explain too much, you adjust your mood based on hers. You think you're being attentive, but what's being seen is something else entirely: instability. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When your thoughts are colored by anxiety and dependence, your soul reflects that. You become reactive, clingy, and easily manipulated. And she will feel that. She will sense that something is off. She will not be able to put her finger on it, but her gut will tell her to pull away. And once she starts pulling away, the dynamic shifts permanently. And once that is felt, even subtly, something begins to shift. Because attraction is not built on comfort alone. It is built on emotional contrast, on tension, on the feeling that there is something beneath the surface that cannot be easily controlled or predicted. When everything about you becomes clear, obvious, and easy to read, the emotional pull weakens. Not because you did something wrong in a dramatic sense, but because you removed the unknown. And the unknown is where curiosity lives. Most men try to solve this by giving more. More attention, more reassurance, more effort. But this only accelerates the problem, because now you are no longer interacting from strength. You are reacting from fear. Fear of losing her attention. Fear of losing the connection. Fear of being replaced. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future." When you live in fear of losing her, you are not enjoying the present. You are anxiously dependent on a future that may not include her, and that anxiety is palpable. It changes your energy, it changes your tone, it changes the way she experiences you. And fear, once it enters your behavior, reshapes everything. You begin to tolerate things you normally wouldn't. Small signs of disrespect, delayed responses, inconsistent energy. You tell yourself it's nothing, that you're overthinking. That staying calm means staying silent. But silence without boundaries is not strength. It is avoidance. And every time you ignore something that matters, you teach people how to treat you. This is where the dynamic begins to turn. Not in one moment, but gradually. You become the one adjusting, the one trying to maintain balance, the one working to keep things from slipping. And without realizing it, you've already given up your position. Because the person who is trying harder is no longer in control. Most men don't want to accept this. It feels unfair. It feels like effort should matter, like consistency should be rewarded. But attraction does not operate on fairness. It operates on perception. And perception is shaped by behavior, not intention. You can have good intentions and still create the wrong perception. You can care deeply and still come across as weak. You can try your best and still lose respect. Because respect is not based on how much you feel. It is based on how you carry yourself when those feelings are tested. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And when you react to disrespect with silent tolerance, you are not being strong. You are being weak. You are teaching her that she can treat you any way she wants without consequence. And that lesson, once learned, is almost impossible to unlearn. This is where emotional control becomes everything. Not suppression, not pretending you don't care, but the ability to feel without immediately reacting. Most men fail here, not because they are incapable, but because they are not aware of how much their reactions reveal. You get ignored, and you react. You feel distance, and you chase clarity. You sense something is off, and you try to fix it with words. But words, in these moments, rarely solve anything. They expose more than they resolve. Because what is being observed is not what you say, but why you're saying it. And if the reason is rooted in insecurity, it is felt instantly. This is why silence becomes powerful, not as a tactic, but as a result of control. When you can sit with uncertainty without rushing to resolve it, you send a different signal, a signal that you are not easily shaken, that your emotional state is not dependent on immediate validation, and that changes how you are perceived. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When you can sit with uncertainty without being consumed by it, you are exercising that power. You are not letting her silence or her distance dictate your state. You are grounded in yourself, and that grounding is what makes her want to be close to you. Another pattern becomes clear when you step back far enough. People are drawn to what feels stable but not controllable. If you are stable but easily influenced, you become safe but not respected. If you are unpredictable without stability, you become exciting but unreliable. The balance is what creates lasting attraction. Calm, grounded, and self-contained, but not easily swayed. Most men lean too far in one direction. They become overly accommodating, thinking it builds connection. But excessive accommodation removes friction. And without friction, there is no emotional engagement. You need a sense of self that does not bend under pressure. Boundaries that are not negotiated in moments of tension. Standards that remain consistent, even when it would be easier to compromise. Because every time you compromise your standards to maintain attention, you lower your value in that moment. Not because someone is consciously judging you, but because inconsistency breaks trust. And trust is not just about honesty. It is about predictability of character. If you say one thing but tolerate another, you create confusion. And confusion weakens your position. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Do not waste your time compromising your standards for the sake of attention. You will only lose yourself in the process. And when you lose yourself, you lose everything. Over time, another truth becomes unavoidable. The less you need something, the more control you have over your behavior. And control over your behavior determines everything. If you need constant reassurance, you will chase it. If you need constant attention, you will seek it. If you fear loss, you will act in ways that try to prevent it. But those actions often create the very outcome you're trying to avoid. Because neediness shifts the balance. It makes you reactive. It makes you adjustable. It makes you easier to influence. And once that pattern is established, it becomes difficult to reverse. This is why detachment is often misunderstood. It is not about not caring. It is about not being controlled by what you care about. You can value someone without losing yourself in the process. You can be present without becoming dependent. But that requires discipline. The discipline to hold your position even when emotions rise. The discipline to walk away from what does not align. The discipline to remain consistent when inconsistency would be easier. Most men don't lack value. They lack discipline. And without discipline, value cannot be maintained. Because value is not what you have. It is what you consistently demonstrate. And consistency, especially under pressure, is rare. Epictetus taught, no great thing is created suddenly, and the discipline required to maintain your position is no exception. It is created through the accumulation of small choices, each one reinforcing the last. Each time you choose to hold your ground instead of folding, you build that discipline. And as you build it, it becomes part of your identity. And that identity is what she will respect. That is why the man who masters himself operates differently. He does not chase clarity at the first sign of tension. He observes. He does not react impulsively to emotional shifts. He waits. He does not compromise his standards to maintain connection. He accepts the outcome. And in doing so, he changes the entire dynamic. Because he is no longer operating from fear. He is operating from control. And control, when it is real, does not need to be forced. It is felt. Quietly. Consistently. Without effort. And once that is established, everything else begins to align. Not because you manipulated anything, but because you removed the one thing that was working against you the entire time. Your lack of control over yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When you cultivate thoughts of discipline, self-respect, and emotional control, your soul reflects that, and she will see it, she will feel it, and she will be drawn to it. Because in a world of men who are reactive, a man who is in control of himself is a rare and precious thing. Now, let me tell you something that most men will never hear. The game is not about winning her. It is about becoming the kind of man who does not need to win her. Because when you become that man, she will come to you. Not because you chased, but because you became undeniable. The brutal truth is this. Women are attracted to men who are not afraid to lose them. Not because they don't care, but because they know their own value. And when you know your value, you do not chase. You do not beg. You do not tolerate disrespect. You do not compromise your standards. You simply exist, and the right women will be drawn to you. The wrong ones will fall away. And that is exactly how it should be. Because the man who is not afraid to lose is the man who never loses. He cannot lose because he has already won. He has won the game of self-mastery. He has won the game of discipline. He has won the game of emotional control. And once you win those games, everything else falls into place. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When you realize that your power comes from within, you stop chasing, you stop begging, you stop wondering why she lost interest. You become the man she chases, and that, brother, is the ultimate freedom. If this resonated with you, if you felt the weight of what I just laid out, then you are already ahead of most men. Most men will watch this, nod their heads, and go right back to their old patterns. They will chase. They will beg. They will tolerate disrespect. They will compromise their standards. And they will wonder why it never works out. But you don't have to be that man. You can be the one who steps back, the one who observes, the one who holds his ground, the one who walks away when it's time. And in doing so, you become the man she can't stop thinking about. Not because you were perfect, not because you said all the right things, but because you were real. And realness, in a world of performance, is the most attractive thing there is. So, here is what I want you to do. Start paying attention to your own behavior. Notice when you are reacting from fear instead of from strength. Notice when you are compromising your standards to keep the peace. Notice when you are chasing validation instead of standing in your own power. And when you see those patterns, stop, pause, breathe, and choose differently. Choose to hold your ground. Choose to walk away when it's time. Choose to be the man who does not need her approval. And watch how everything changes. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future." When you are no longer anxiously dependent on her approval, you can enjoy the present. You can be fully present, fully engaged, and fully yourself. And that presence is what she will be drawn to. This is the truth that most men will never understand. They will spend their entire lives chasing external validation, trying to be what they think women want, hoping that if they just do enough, say enough, give enough, they will finally be chosen. But they will never be chosen because they have not chosen themselves. And until you choose yourself, no one else will truly choose you. The brutal reality is that women are not attracted to men who are desperate for their approval. They are attracted to men who are complete in themselves, men who have their own purpose, their own direction, their own sense of self. Men who do not need a woman to complete them. And when you become that man, you become irresistible. Not because you are trying to be, but because you simply are. Epictetus taught, "No great thing is created suddenly," and the transformation from a man who chases to a man who attracts is no exception. It is created through the accumulation of small choices, each one building on the last. Each time you choose yourself over her approval, you become stronger. Each time you hold your ground instead of folding, you become more magnetic. And as you build that magnetism, it becomes part of your presence. And that presence is what she will be drawn to. So, if you take nothing else from this, take this. Stop chasing. Stop begging. Stop compromising your standards. Start building yourself. Start mastering your emotions. Start becoming the kind of man who does not need external validation to feel complete. And watch as the women who matter are drawn to you like moths to a flame. Because when you become the man who doesn't need to chase, you become the man who is chased. And that, brother, is the ultimate freedom. The Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When you cultivate thoughts of self-respect, discipline, and emotional independence, your soul reflects that. And the right women will see it. They will feel it. And they will be drawn to it. Because in a world of men who are desperate, a man who is free is a rare and precious thing. Be that man. Build that life. And watch how everything changes. If this resonated with you, if you felt the weight of what I just laid out, then you are already ahead of most men. Most men will watch this, nod their heads, and go right back to their old patterns. They will chase. They will beg. They will tolerate disrespect. They will compromise their standards. And they will wonder why it never works out. But you don't have to be that man. You can be the one who steps back. The one who observes. The one who holds his ground. The one who walks away when it's time. And in doing so, you become the man she can't stop thinking about. Not because you were perfect, not because you said all the right things, but because you were real. And realness, in a world of performance, is the most attractive thing there is. So go out there and build that life. Become that man. And watch how everything changes. See you in the next one.